a United fan, is it slight? I mean, obviously it's very deflated on a number of issues here, but Liverpool fans are begging for Ten Hag to stay in charge for Sunday. They're begging him to stay in charge long term, and you're saying, "Oh, let's stick by the manager. There's no one else. We've got all these takeover issues, etc. And they're all really good points. The club doesn't have sort of in position to buy those players in January at the moment. But your biggest rivals, your most hated rivals, are saying, please keep that guy in the dugout because it helps us."
I'm not necessarily keep Ten Hag, but I'm also not all the way Ten Hag out, just because, like you said, there aren't any obvious options to come in and replace him. Anyone else would be a gamble. And there's no guarantee that we've changed managers so many times in the last 10 years and nothing has changed.
But it's because you keep pointing the wrong manager.
But we also have so many issues beyond the manager that it kind of doesn't make a difference at this point. You could get Jesus Christ himself. If the vision of the club isn't aligned, it's not going to help. Yeah. And right now you've got this guy over here wants to sign these players for this reason, and this guy wants these people, and these people have to stay because the image of the club. And this guy, he's academy, so he should be here anyway, just because. Yeah. And you're just kind of putting square pegs in round holes. And
so is this season? Sorry, go on. You finished. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think the reason Ten Hag came in and the reason a lot of people were behind him is because he seemed to have that no nonsense thing to him with the Ronaldo situation, stripping Maguire of the captaincy, immediately dropping Maguire when he didn't perform in the first couple of games. He had this thing about him where he was going to do it his way regardless, and that's gone away in the last 6 months or so. And I think that's why fans are kind of like, well, if you're not going to do it, you could be anyone else.
It's gone away because he's upset so many people behind the scenes, because he's upset so many players. And obviously there's this dressing room leak last week. So doing it his way has fractured the dressing room.
That then tells you that the players are probably the wrong ones to be at Man United. If they're not willing to have a culture change, where that's clearly a positive one because of so many things that have gone wrong in the last even 3 years, never mind 10. If they're not willing to see those changes, if you look at Tottenham, for example, where everything has changed in 6 months, it's the same players. They've only had, I don't know, they didn't sign that many players, and some of them they lost arguably their best player ever. They've got better. Maybe not individually, but you can see exactly what they're planning to do.
And also they're fun to watch, aren't they? I mean, Man United are boring. The football's abysmal. There is no. You talk about Ten Hag's identity. I can't see what that identity is because there's no structure. There's no intent, and the way they went out of the Champions League, that was horrendous and embarrassing, and so bad for Man United, a club of that standing.
I actually think as well that what makes it worse is nobody was surprised.
No one was surprised, and the fans weren't even jeering because they were like, "Okay, this is what we expected."
We beat Chelsea in midweek and then lost 3-0 to Bournemouth, and nobody was shocked.
Yeah,
and that tells you everything about where the club is right now.
So, Daniel, going forwards, then sort of wrap up this before we move on to our little fun games to finish. What's a success for United this season? Now that really, the European football has gone in the bin, are you hoping maybe for like an FA Cup run? Are you hoping for top four? What would you count as a success for Ten Hag?
He has to match last season. So that's win a trophy and top four. But even then, that's not progress. So it's hard to say that's a success. It's the same. But I would say if he matched last season, he's probably bought himself.
I will wager my mortgage and my life savings, which aren't that much by the way, that he will not match last season. And
I'll bet he doesn't get to the end of the season. I would doubt he's still there by the time the FA Cup final gets played.
Is the worry then, though, that it's going to turn into another campaign where you're going to have an interim manager for 6 months? You're going to get someone else in or whenever in the summer. It's going to be then the wrong appointment. What do you do if he does go? Who are you looking at? I mean, I know one name that was sort of floating around was Graham Potter. Supposedly, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's a fan of him. Would you like him in? Who replaces Ten Hag? Because they're really the options are slim pickings.
I think if the person who sacks Ten Hag is the person appointing the next manager, then they need to have some kind of vision. Whether if Potter is the guy that they see as leading that vision, that's fine. I have no problem with that because there's no obvious candidate, and I think that was the issue Tottenham had, where there was no obvious person to come in and replace Conte.
Yeah, I think there is actually an obvious candidate. I think he's sitting in the Brighton dugout. I think De Zerbi would be a brilliant manager with the right backing. There has to be the right backing. Has to be a plan.
Brighton isn't the best right now, is it? I think he's won 1 of 7.
Yeah, but just in terms of having an identity, a playing style, fitting players to that playing style. I mean, Brighton are still punching above their weight. I mean, yes, they're probably not as effective as they were in the final months of last season, but they're great to watch consistently as well.
I think Man United fans have this tendency to jump on the next hype train.
Yeah.
Right now, that is De Zerbi.
Was Ten Hag ever a hype train? I don't think he was. Who was calling for Ten Hag?
After the Ajax semi-final and all of that stuff, yeah, definitely. He was the guy. He was the next Pep. I think De Zerbi's in that same boat, right? The same way Potter was when he went to Chelsea. He was the next big thing. And
the only thing he's got in common with Pep is his shiny head, I would say. There's nothing else.
There's nothing.
To wrap up this segment, Wayne, at the beginning, you said they're not going to be signing Mbappe. The only time Daniel will be signing Mbappe with Man United is on EAFC 24, logging on and getting him joining the club. You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.